Yo, 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 good morning. I just wanted to share some thoughts and reflections from a conversation that I had recently. I was in Sombrero ordering some dinner. Nice, delicious vegan burrito, sour cream, cheese, guacamole, beans, cauliflower rice, all the best things. And I'm so grateful that we've got such delicious food available. And the person behind me was an older fella, and the woman offered him, would you like rice and beans for your wrap? And he's like, yeah, that sounds good. But he sounded a bit hesitant. And then he was like, oh, can I get some pork and beef with that? And so, she started serving up his food. And so this conversation that we had, there's so much to unpack, right? So firstly, even from that comment, like, this is a euphemism. So the word pork means pig flesh. The word beef means cow flesh. The word bacon, again, it's another form of pig flesh. So industry has introduced these terms to disconnect you from who you're actually consuming. Who are you paying to be killed to satisfy your taste buds or your 5-minute pleasure or whatever it is. So if you were to order your next meal and you were to say, okay, I like a burrito with pig flesh in it, doesn't sound so good, does it? Like, so the industry knows how to influence and how to manipulate to keep us disconnected from what we're actually supporting. Because most people, if we actually refer to the actual words, in terms of which other beings we're eating, what parts of them we're eating, people will be less inclined to consume meat, eggs, and dairy, right? Now, I've spent most of my life eating meat, eggs, and dairy. I've been a part of these systems of exploitation for a very, very long time, and I know there's a lot that I didn't question when it came to my relationship with animals and nature. There was a lot that I just sort of brushed to the side. But the reality is, we are living in a world where we're becoming more and more conscious, more and more aware of the consequences of our choices on ourselves, on those around us. And we need to extend that to other members of the Earth community that we share this beautiful planet with. So that's the first thing, euphemisms. Be aware of all these euphemisms and actually question it. What's deeper than these superficial words that are intended to disconnect you from who you're actually consuming, right? It's been so normalized in our society to consume animal flesh, the muscle of animals, of other beings who have suffered, beings who have been exploited and harmed and tortured. Now, these are not words that I use lightly. If you've seen the slaughterhouse footage, if you've seen what happens to animals, there is nothing fucking humane about our exploitation and use of animals. Animals go in alive into a slaughterhouse and come up chopped up in little pieces. Like, nothing humane is happening at all to animals in these places. These are places of violence, these are places of suffering and a loss of life. And this is not, we don't see this, right? We as a consumer, we go to the supermarket, we go to the shops, we see the end product. We see that the little bit of someone sitting in on a shelf or in a display or in a sandwich or a burger. You don't often ask, who am I eating? Animals are something separate, And so this is something that we need to be challenged on. People need to connect with what they're supporting and what their money is going towards, because I believe deep down, we're kind, compassionate, loving human beings. And once we reconnect to that and crack through the conditioning, take off the masks, take off all these layers that disconnect us from our truth and from what we're actually doing, then we're going to have a kinder, more compassionate world, especially when it comes to animals. Like, through people's choices to just have a burger every once in a while, maybe some steak, again, cow flesh for dinner, some dairy products, some eggs. Animals are dying. Animals are dying. Think about the energy that this vibration is creating. 70 billion animals a year, right? 70 billion. That's just land animals, and you've got over 2 trillion sea animals. Like, connect with this. This is a number, but this is also lives Imagine if this was 70 billion dogs being bred and exploited every year because, but dogs have protein and we need to eat something and that's what they were bred for. So let's just keep exploiting and harming dogs. Most people wouldn't be stoked with that, but that's your cultural conditioning. That's your brainwashing that has you thinking that a dog is morally more important than a cow or a chicken or a fish or a lamb, than any of these animals, okay? Extend that compassion, that feeling to actually the rest of the earth community. So back to Sombrero, I shared with this fella, the first thing I said to him after he'd ordered his meal, I said, bro, 70 billion, we're killing 70 billion animals a year. He's like, yeah, I'm okay with that. I said, that's a lot of suffering, bro. Don't you think that needs to change? Like, that's hectic. He's like, nah, I'm a butcher. So, okay, so you're probably the perfect person to chat to understand how you see the world, what's contributed to having these beliefs. And I said, animals are immensely suffering in these industries. We're killing them, eating them. Animal agriculture industry is an absolute ecological disaster. So he's like, no, there's no suffering in these industries. Now, either the slaughterhouses and the rest of the violent animal agriculture industry have conditioned this butcher to believe that animals don't suffer when they have their throat slit in a slaughterhouse and are chopped up, tremoring out of fear, seeing their friends and loved ones being killed. Or maybe he's actually in full denial that animals are actually suffering. Either way, I don't know. But I hope that planted a seed with him to start thinking about these things, right? So after that, a few people started. You can feel the tension in the restaurant just, shifting. I noticed my heart rate starting to go faster, which means my energy's pumping. And then the woman behind the counter says, it's just a personal choice. And I looked at it and I said, it's not a personal choice. There's a victim involved. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. It's not a personal choice to eat meat and to eat the flesh of other beings. You are directly you're paying for them to be killed on your behalf. Your money is paying for the knife, okay? Connect with that. I said, it's not a personal choice, there's a victim involved, and a personal choice is something that doesn't have a direct impact on someone. Personal choice is, am I going to have orange juice for breakfast or apple juice? Personal choice is, do I want to wear shoes today? Do I not want to wear shoes? That's a personal choice. Now, just to draw an analogy here, the same justification, if you're going to use the same justification that eating animals and paying someone to murder animals for a burger, for 5 minutes of palate pleasure, is a personal choice, then it's equally a personal choice for someone to abuse a child. It's someone's personal choice to sexually assault someone. That's not a personal choice. Someone is being affected and impacted by those choices, right? That's what makes it not a personal choice. It's a choice to exploit and harm animals, but it's not a personal one that only affects you. So again, this is another justification and excuse that we've used over the years to continue harming and exploiting animals, and it's gone unquestioned. And I want to live in a world where there's more kindness, more respect, less violence. So I've stopped contributing to these systems of animal exploitation. I've stopped eating meat, eggs, and dairy and all these animal products that are rife with suffering. Like, I know when I used to sit down for dinner, that if I was having a steak, that someone had died, that, an animal had died. I didn't want to think about what they'd gone through or anything like that, but I knew that was obvious. But dairy and eggs, this is what a lot of people don't know. In the dairy industry, for example, they electro ejaculate the bull, right, to get semen from the bull. Then they forcibly inseminate and impregnate the female cows, because it's not a natural cycle of cows falling pregnant. They have to, and that, the industry refers to these racks as rape racks. This is not just my rhetoric. This is what industry refers to these structures as. They put the cow in there, put their hand in their anus, hold the cervix in place, and then put this little thing in with the semen. So they forcibly impregnate cows. So they fall pregnant. That way they give birth to their babies. And then because the humans don't want the baby cows drinking the cow's milk, cow's breast milk that was intended for them, what do we do with the calves? We take them away, we kidnap them. We take the males away because they don't produce milk. And what's really crazy is that in Australia, so they're called bobby calves, right? And the bobby calves, the males, they're often either like taken into the veal industry where they're locked up for a fraction of their lifespan and then they're killed because people want to eat tender baby cow flesh. That's veal, by the way. Veal sounds a lot better than baby cow flesh, but that's who you're eating. And or if they don't send them in the veal industry, then they kill them within a few days of being born. Now, under Australian, animal law, you can legally kill baby calves in their first few days of being born with blunt force trauma. So this is when they literally smash their head in or use a sledgehammer or something brutal to kill these animals. Again, this is not just some bullshit that I'm making up. Read the laws, watch the slaughterhouse footage. You can see what's legal and what's not. Just because something is legal doesn't make it moral or ethical. Just because the rest of society is out there harming and exploiting animals and abusing animals through their choices or directly, which is what I was doing for most of my life, doesn't mean that we should keep doing that. Step away from what's normal. Listen to your heart. If you're against animal abuse, live vegan. If you don't want to see animals suffering, live vegan. That's the first thing that you can do, right? It's either you support animal exploitation or you're living vegan. There's nothing in between. Nothing in between. It's about doing our best to reduce our impact, to not support animal exploitation in all these various forms. And that's the vision of the new earth that I hold, where the rights and interests of all other members of the earth community are upheld and respected. Not having baby calves being killed, not having mothers forcibly impregnated. And with the female calves, if they are females, then they keep them in these systems of exploitation where they're forcibly impregnating them, taking them their children away. They live a fraction of their lifespan, and then all the dairy cows, once their bodies are just done from, producing an insane amount of milk because they've been, selectively bred, then they send them to the same slaughterhouse as all the other cows. And in the egg industry, because I used to eat like eggs every single day, right? Every single day. In the egg industry, whether it's free range, organic, caged, anything like that, doesn't mean much for these chickens. The egg industry, the standard industry practice is to kill the day-old chickens, the males, because they don't produce eggs. So they put them in what's called a macerator, which is essentially a big grinder where they blend it up alive, and they drop them in like hundreds, thousands, millions a day across the world into these blenders and kill them, or they suffocate them. Only a few countries in the world have actually banned this grinding up of baby male chickens. So next time you go to purchase the dairy milk, understand what's happening. There's violence in the dairy industry. Next time you go to purchase eggs, understand that if you saw a little baby chicken in a blender, would you have the guts to turn that on and kill them? Because if you don't, stop purchasing eggs. Stop. Because your heart will tell you no, you don't want to see animals suffering, but all the conditioning gets in the way of that. So reconnect to that. Live vegan, do your best to reduce suffering on this planet and create a world with less violence and more kindness. It's up to you, okay? We need to collectively raise our awareness, connect with what's happening, because I don't want to live in a world where animals are being exploited. There's an ecological disaster happening because of our inefficient, horrible animal farming systems. Be the change, be the light, speak up for those who are being suppressed and oppressed in our society. Live vegan, homies.